My name is Edna Golandsky, and together with John Bloomfield, Robert Durso, and Mary Moran, we will be answering your questions. We are very excited that so many of you signed on tonight for this session, almost 500 people, 57 countries, and 5 continents. We're truly a global community. We are very happy to be spending the next hour with you. We have been living in very strange times with an invisible virus that has been impacting our lives in one way or another. Corona knows no boundaries, nationalities, religion, race, or color. And in a strange way, the same is true of technical problems. It cross boundaries and nations, which is why our following is worldwide. The difference is that at some point a cure or a vaccine will be found and will be available, and that will be the end of Corona. When it comes to piano problems and instrumental problems in general, they have been here for a very, very long time, and they have persisted, except that in this case, there is a cure, and it has been here for some time. Carbon approach shines a light on the intricacy of what we call technique. It gives us the tools with which to diagnose and solve problems that previously seemed to be unsolved. Tonight we can give you a taste of it, especially to the people who are here for the first time. We have received many, many interesting and thoughtful questions, and we chose the ones that we felt would best suit this format. We hope to be able to expand on it at some point. So let's get to work. The first question was about Opus 25, number 2, Chopin Etude. And the person is asking, or telling that in measure 7, after you have the arpeggio, the 5th finger on the D flat feels weak. Then there is another question, which is, I don't know if it's a balance in the wrist, but I generally get tired with this study. So let me answer the first one, which had to do with arpeggio. First of all, if you take the fingering that they suggest, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, at least in this edition that I have, there is a little bit of a stretch between 3 and 4. So I chose, as you see, a fingering that starts with 2, goes to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now you get to the 5th finger, and that's a finger that is weak. And it's interesting if when the person plays it, if they didn't play a flat, if they just played a G natural, if that would be okay, and it wouldn't feel weak. Because the issue here is that we're not playing the D, we're playing D flat. And D flat is here. It's inside in the blacky area, which means that we need to walk in order to get the whole forearm into the place with just a cross from the D flat. And then make sure that the forearm is behind that finger so that it can feel strong. Weakness in any finger means, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with the fingers, that they're intrinsically weak. What it means is that the forearm is not connected, the hand and the forearm, the parts that are right behind the finger are not connected to the finger. It's the same as if we walked and our bodies didn't come with us. So we always have to be connected. So in this case, we also have to move inside to be able to get right there and get the forearm behind it, and then we can come out. I put some other signs here for the people who understand what they mean, like in the second line, measure 4, you see arrows that say come out, and then it says forward. And then again, an arrow that says out. When we play on the white keys and it comes from the thumb, if the forearm as it rotates, doesn't come out, the fingers will curl. And curling is one of the main reasons for tension, and tension, it creates fatigue and slows us down. So I put some of the fingerings also and some of those signs to show, there's more than just moving across. They're moving into the black key and coming out again. And that's how I ended up here, that I came a little bit out to the 2, crossed to the 1, crossed to the 1, went inside. And the crossing to the thumb and from the thumb will be covered by Robert Durso. It's a very frequent question. It doesn't matter whether it's in scales, whether it's in arpeggios or in any kind of a situation. A crossing is a crossing. So that was one question. Another question had to do with Chopin Etude, Opus 10, number 4. And you can see the person is asking, this is what they're saying. When I play the right hand by itself, I'm fine. When I play the left hand by itself, I'm fine. When I put them together, I'm not fine. So basically, what they say, when I try to put the hands together at speed, the coordination falls apart. There is something about the interdependence of the hands that I'm having trouble with, especially on the first 2 row chords in the left hand, right here. So we have what we call alignment, the finger hand and the forearm. We have an alignment also with the keyboard. It all goes to the keyboard to play. And then we have the alignment between the 2 hands. So what happens if you look at measure 2, you have chords. Now, when chords play, it's 1 stroke. When we play a round chord, it looks like a chord, with like a little snake, but it means you're playing 3 notes and it's 3 strokes. So that means that when I come between here and here, there are 2 extra notes before I get to the E and play together. So this is an issue of interdependence, and what we need to do, that somehow those 2 notes that play really horizontally have to come right after the last note of the last measure, so that when we play the 3rd note of that chord, it hits together. And there's no time to do this and to wait. That's what happens very often that people do. Because they look, it's the next measure, I have time to do it. So what we do from the last 4 notes of the previous measure, the last note in the right hand has to signal the left, we call it to trigger the other hand, because the other hand doesn't know when to come in. In speed, it needs to be triggered. So it goes, this is slow, and it sounds exactly as we wish, like a rolled chord, quick one, and we are back on time. And the same thing happens here. You really have to go to the last note and think that those 2 notes really belong to, they're like a triplet with the last note of the 16th note. And this is how it sounds at the end. What I think that I forgot to mention, the person who asked the previous question was talking about getting tired when they play, that this causes fatigue. Now, there are many reasons why we get tired, so without seeing the person and without seeing them play, it's very hard to diagnose. But I can say that when you isolate your fingers, when you curl your fingers, you lift them up and down just by themselves, you stretch, you twist, the wrist falls down, the fingering is not right. There's pressing and pushing on the key bottom. The seat is not exactly at the right height. All of those things, you're playing with your elbow 2 out, with your elbow 2 in, there can be so many reasons I can't answer it. And also without, there are many issues here, and that's what we deal with when we first start with people. It's exactly those issues, how to get the evenness, how to be connected, how to move quickly, and also how to play softly, because most of the time when people see piano pianissimo, they hold up. They hold the arm up so that there will not be a loud sound when they play the key. And all of that, you know, I cannot cover tonight, but there could be different reasons why someone gets tired. And, you know, I think that I mentioned at least a good number of them. The last question was about the symphonic etudes, the third one, the third etude. And the person says that they have trouble with it, specifically with the evenness. This is one thing. And then the other thing is that the thumb that goes up here accents. Why does it accent? And if I understood correctly, that they don't get the sound, especially on the top. So what's the reason for that? Also, not sure where to put my hands and arms to best tackle this difficult variation. And that goes again to the basis of this work. The arm always has to be connected. It's like when we go to pick up anything in life, our fingers don't go by themselves. They're connected to some parts in back of them. And then there's the arms move, and then the body moves. You know, we move as one. What we know from this work is that there are parts that initiate those movements because they move quickly. And there are parts, and they move by quick muscles. And there are parts that follow them that cannot initiate, like the upper arm and the torso. They move much slower, and you get tired easily. But if I go to pick up something, I am moving from here, and this is the rest is following me. So when we start here, and that of course gets to the whole issue, you know, if we have to be connected and we have to be lined up, what is the height? All, you know, many different questions of how to do it and how to go from finger to finger and to be connected. You know, we can't leave anything behind. And that goes to issue of rotation. This is your quickest movement to get from one place to another. And at the same time, it brings the forearm with it. You know, so these are quick movements. For those of you who know rotation, this is a single rotation, preparatory motion to the thumb, a single rotation to the fore. And here is the crossing that Robert is going to talk to explain, but it works whether it's staccato or it's legato. It's a single rotation, brings the thumb right there, the thumb turns this way. You go here straight down because the finger repeats itself. Whenever finger repeats itself, it's what we call a double rotation. So it plays again, and then it turns into a single rotation. Here it crosses, and then same thing here. Now, since I can't show everything, what would be interesting to see is that you're not only going up and down, but you keep shifting. It keeps going down. The music keeps going down. Now, if you watch me, you will see that my forearm is going right with it. As I'm going down and as I'm playing another harmony and go from one finger to the next, the forearm is right with me. And it goes, again, when it goes from here to here, my forearm is coming a little bit more to the left and goes more to the left. And until it gets to the E. So I'm ending here and I started here. And you can see that there's no way to get down here if the forearm is not moving with me. So this is the whole issue of evenness, and where the arm should be is the whole basis of movement, which is the rotational movement that bring the lateral shift of the forearm. They are also readjusting to different heights of fingers and finger rings and changes of direction, which is what we call shaping. And it's very small. You get a little bit higher to here. To those of you who know shaping in this work, this is an overshape with a tiny undershape. And then it becomes one overshape coming down here again. So there is that. There is also the repeated note. And the answer, why this can accent, why the thumb can accent, if the thumb moves by itself in an isolated way and doesn't have the support of the forearm, it will go faster into the key. And when it goes faster, into the key, you will get an accent that you wish you didn't have. So when you get there with the forearm, you can go slow down the key just a little bit so that the sound doesn't come out when you get this kind of an accent. It's because you go too fast into the key. Chances are by a finger that is isolated and doesn't have the support of the forearm. So this is one thing. You don't want it here, but here you wish to have maybe a little bit of a sound. There's also a rhythm to it. It's like down, up, down. So it also, the right movements also help interpret the music. To a great degree, they gave us also the ability to control sound, to the quality that we want, to the volume that we want, and so on. Also, this has many, many different things. When you have a repeated note, you don't repeat it exactly in the same spot. It's like the next spot, and here it comes a little bit down. Here it gets a little bit higher. Here it still comes, it changes a little bit the key spot, but it gets down. So the repeated note is also important. The whole issue of staccato. It can't be a very short staccato. You know, if you do that, you're not going to get around. So it's a very mild, I would say, staccato. You know, it's not very short. It's enough to sound short. When you want more sound, you just release a little bit more weight from the forearm. So you can get what you want, and it's nice also to hear the line as it changes. Another place that people have difficulties with is right at the end of the second measure. There is an in, you see an arrow. The whole arm should be going in instead of twisting into it. So that's another thing to keep in mind. That also can cause a lot of problems. And then I gave a fingering here that it's a little bit unusual, where we move up to the 5, and there is the crossing. Staccato or not, it's the same rotational crossing, but there's no problem if you stay with the same 3rd finger or 4th finger. I gave those fingerings just as a suggestion. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to cover here. I think that I just wanted to say one more thing, that as I'm going down and as I'm adjusting the arm, you see my upper arm is following, and watch also my torso. My torso is moving to the left to make room for the forearm to be right in front, right behind the fingers. If I stay where I started, there's no way for me to get there, and that can cause many other problems. We hope to expand those sessions, and we'll let you know about it, so please stay in touch with us. Many people ask about resources, people who want to know more about this work. So the first thing I would recommend is our streaming service. We have 143 videos that cover everything from technique to music and the relationship between the two. We have many YouTube clips, and we urge you to subscribe to our channel so you'll know what's the latest. I have also a blog that occasionally I post some things on, and it's under ednagolandsky.com. And by the way, someone asked about the double third Chopin etude, and I have clips about several of the Chopin etudes, and this is one of them. Robert Durso has a website. Mary, who didn't get tonight to answer many of the questions of how to teach young people, how to teach beginners, she's going to come up with a website with a lot of information. And also the book, Basic Alignment and Rotation, is going to come up, already has in digital form, and the teacher's book is also available in a book form. John Bloomfield also is going to soon will have a website, so you can stay in touch with all of us. Another wonderful resource is a documentary that was done a long time ago called The Choreography of the Hands. It's free and you can connect to it. It's about 50 minutes. It was done maybe 30 or 35 years ago. And Dorothy Taubman there talks about how she got to all the conclusions that she did, and it's quite a fascinating one. Also, there are the 10 DVDs, the Taubman techniques, and while the work has grown a great deal since I taped them in the 80s and 90s, it has all the amazing discoveries of Dorothy Taubman. There's also the published PhD dissertation of Therese Milanovic, and it's in a book form, and it talks about the process of her learning, how to, first of all, come out of a 10-year injury into a performing artist and also a teacher who has been certified by the Golandsky Institute. We will post this list so that you will have it. And lastly, this session and others being broadcast free, which we are very happy to do. But our organization, like all other organizations, has to keep moving, and they're running expenses. So if you wish to make a donation of any amount, any size, we will be very, very grateful. There's a donate button on our website. So it was a pleasure to be with you. I hope this was a learning experience to all of you. So I say goodbye for now. All the best to you and stay safe.